Welcome to this short presentation about how you can use Barr EOM to perform electronic document delivery via the web. Specifically, we will be looking at how to take your print documents and make them easily accessible on a website. The workflow that we will be looking at is the following. It is automated and it involves a document arriving into Barr EOM, having metadata extracted from it, and then filing this document in the EOM library using the desired classification. Of course, the end result is the user can access this document from the web. So let's go over to the product. I'm pulling up the EOM console, which is the administrative user interface of Barr EOM. As you probably know, the product is organized in sources and destinations. Sources are how documents come into the system, destinations are where they go. The document library is a destination for us, as well as an application once the document arrives there. So the system that we're trying to set up here is have a document come in via a source, have it properly classified, routed to the library, and then displayed in there both in the console and on the web. To make this entire system automated, we have to pull up the Business Rules Manager. As you probably know, every document that comes into EOM gets evaluated against business rules. So let's create a new business rule that achieves all of this workflow wishes. I'll click Add to start a new rule. And the very first thing we're going to do is name this rule. I'm going to call it Library Rule. I'm going to pass in a description. Now in the conditions section, we're going to make a very simple condition in this case, which is just that the document source is equal to a LPD source that I've set up. Nothing fancy. Of course, you could set up much more comprehensive conditions that are based on document names or all sorts of other metadata that comes with the document. I will pick the LPD source and hit OK. Now we're going over to the actions, and the very first action we need to deal with is about assigning a library filing profile. This is how documents get filed in a library. So let's create a new profile. We're going to name this profile. I'll call it Sales Projects. I'm going to once again pass in the description, and then I'm going to answer the question about what the base folder in the library will be for these documents. As you see, we already have a little bit of a sample structure here. Let's say that we're going to start filing these documents under Sales. So I'll click Sales and choose OK. Now this next area is very important. This is where you're adding dynamic folder levels. So this is basically variable data that we're putting in here. I'm going to click Add, and I'll create a single dynamic folder, and I'll use a document property called class for it. So we are going to assume in this case that when we receive the job via LPD, the class field will contain some important information about how to classify this document. I will click OK. Of course, you could be adding here a lot more levels, and you could be using a variety of variable data for it. This other checkbox is also important, and this would allow you to actually send an email notification when the document gets filed. I won't do this, but just to show you what the screen looks like, beyond choosing an outbound email profile and choosing who will receive this information, you can actually put variable data in here as well. By right-clicking and choosing properties, you can put things such as document name and pages and so on. And of course, most importantly, you can actually put a hyperlink to the document. This way, when a user receives the email, they can click on the link and head straight to that web page. As I said, I'm not going to do this in this short video, and I'm going to leave all the other defaults as they are and hit OK. So we've created a new profile called Sales Projects, which is what I'm going to pick now from this list, and click OK. Finally, the other action that we have to do is to route the document to the library. So I'm going to choose Route to Destination, Basic, and then from the pop-up tree I will choose the document library. So to recap this rule, if a document comes over this particular source, we will assign a library filing profile by the name of Sales Projects, and then we will actually route the document to the library. Now I'm going to click OK. And going back to the EOM console, let's look at the library and let's see what we have there right now. As you can see, we have a few folders in the library documents area. In particular, the sales folder is what we want to focus on, and then you can see there's a few folders underneath, a project 1, 2, 3 folder, and a few others. So let's now watch the entire system at work. I'm going to click on sources so we can monitor the LPD source we've set up, and I will go ahead and LPR a document over. Alright, I've done it, so we should see the document starting to arrive and spool into EOM. There you see, still in incomplete state, but starting to come in. Now notice if I scroll to the right, when we look at this document, you'll see that the class of the document contains the value project 456. As promised, I LPR'd the document with this value in the class field. Now the only reason the document is not going anywhere is that I intentionally put it on hold. I set it up so that we can see it. Notice though that the destination for it is the document library, so our business rule did execute. So I am now going to right click the document and set it to ready so that it actually leaves and goes to the library, and off it went. Now let's click back to the library and see what happened there. Notice that there is now a new folder called Project 456 under Sales. This was dynamically created as a result of the document arriving with that field in its class, and of course the library filing profile that directed the dynamic level creation. And when I click on it, you can see the actual document. What about web users? Well, imagine that you're now a web user rather than an administrator, and you bring up the EOM web interface. You log in using your username and password. In this case, I'm using sample user. And once you click login, here too you can access the information. The screen looks very similar to what we saw in the EOM console. Once again, a tree view on the left. And notice that if I expand sales and I click on Project 456, our document is available right here. If I wanted to actually download this document, I can right-click and choose to download it. So this entire workflow involved receiving a document and automatically routing it to the library, having it classified properly, and then enabling web access for it. I hope you enjoyed this short presentation.